Hey, this is Brad calling again. I've called you a couple of times, left you a few voicemails, just trying to follow up on the conversation we had the other day and see whenever we can go ahead and close this deal. Anyway, listen, when you get a chance, give me a call back. You've got my number. I'm thinking voicemail again. Clutch closers, are you tired of getting voicemail? How can we avoid getting the dreaded voice jail? We've got to know not only the best time to call, but we got to have the best contact information for our customer. How do we collect that and what exactly is it? Before we talk about the best time to call, let's decide what is the best number we need to be calling in the first place, all right? The number one number that you need, their work phone number. We'll go into why in just a second. Number two is their cell phone number with permission to text. That's 3 contact ways. Number 4 is their home number, if they got it. I mean, some people still have a home number out there. Come on, some of you out there watching have a home number. And number 5 is the email address they actually check. All right, so I'm going to go through some of those kind of backwards because I want to end up back at that work number, and that's what this thing's about. When you ask for the email address, you've got to be very specific with your customer. Don't just say, hey, sir, ma'am, what is your email address? Because trust me, I have 5 email addresses, and depending upon where we're at in the sales process and how much I like and trust you, depends upon which 5 of those you get. But if you ask me a very direct question, Brad, what is your email address? And I need the one that you check every day. Your odds go up that you're going to actually get the real email address. Home phone number, obvious reasons. Texting's a great way to contact your customer. Remember, you got to have permission to do it when you text your customer. Be very careful when texting your customers. Texting doesn't convey emotion with your customer. You can't do that. It's very matter of fact and it's very logical, so always be careful what you share and how you share it through text because there's no emotion there. And when there's no emotion, you create this ambiguity and this vacuum. Your customer's going to fill it with whatever they want to fill it with, and it's usually negative. Now we're up to their cell phone number. Cell phone number is a great phone number to have, but just know, have you noticed how many calls you get every day from the IRS telling them that you better come pay them or they're going to put you in jail? So a lot of people on their cell phones now are screening calls and they're all going to voicemail, and that's why that thing's moved down to number 2. That leaves us with the number 1 phone number to have, and that's their work phone number. Why is their work phone number the most important to have? Well, it's all mental, see? Your customer, when they're sitting at work, they're more apt to talk with you and have a conversation with you because that's somebody else's time. That's not their time that they have. That's the boss's time. That goes back to that old saying, boss makes $1, I make a dime, that's why I'm going to poop on company time. That's right. Boss makes $1, I make a dime, that's why I'm going to poop on company time. And I'll tell you, that's why I'm willing to talk to salespeople on company time too. Your customer is more apt to sit there and have a conversation with you. It's free. You call them at home. That's why home number's way down here at the bottom of the list, right above email. And maybe email might ought to be above their home phone number, really and truly. But it's way down towards the bottom because that's their time. They own that time. That's theirs. They feel like they're giving something away by even talking with you. They'd much rather be talking to you on the boss's dime rather than their own dime. Now that we got all that out of the way and we know the best number to be calling, what's the best time to be calling it? Call Hippo recently did a study, and it stays consistent with every study that I've ever read regarding the best time to call a customer. Number 1 time, somewhere around 3 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's number 1. Number 2 is at 10:30 to 11 o'clock time in the morning. Why are those times important? You got to understand that. Number 1, it may seem pretty obvious. They're getting ready to get off. Their day's kind of winding down. They're starting to look at the door. Them old knees are shifting in their desk to the door. They're lining up with that door and getting ready to leave. This is kind of that mixture of gray area. It's dusk at work. Boss's time. Phone rings. I'm caught up. Stress is at the least and lowest point it's been all day. Yeah, I'm willing to talk to you right now. And you got about an hour on the phone at that point. That number 2 time in the morning, 10:30, that was one of my favorite times to call. I like that 10:30 time. And the reason why 10:30 is important, when your customer first gets to work, they're getting to work somewhere around 8, 9 o'clock, and they just get hit with a ton of stressors when they first get there. The day tends to stack up early. And somewhere around 10:30, they're back looking at the door. This is the first time they look at the door. They're looking at the door. They're thinking about lunch. They've caught up on their morning. They've already hit some of those high points. The stress level starts to go down. They're releasing themselves from their job. Oh, phone rings, and guess who's on the other end? It's Brad ready to close the car deal. They're on the boss's time. Yeah, I've got time for you. What's up? What's the worst time to call a customer? We might as well talk about that too. Remember, they're getting to work 8, 9 o'clock. That's the worst time to call. They don't have time for you then. Boss gets a little bit then. Boss gets a little bit early, right? They don't start pooping until 9:30, 10 o'clock. You can call them right after that. But you've got to get them boss's time, 8, 9 o'clock. That's not the time to call. The next time's 5 o'clock. They're getting off, man. You know, you're getting that late 4 o'clock hour, getting close to 5 o'clock. They're hitting the door then. They're clocking out. 8, 9, 5. Ain't no reason to call a customer then. And now we know the best time to call. Here's a free one. What's the best day to call a customer, right? There's 2 days that stand out above and beyond everything else. You may be able to guess it, right? Wednesday and Thursday. Hump day. They started through the grind of the weekend. Monday was super stressful. They got through it. Tuesday, they started cleaning things up. Wednesday, they can start seeing the weekend. Stress starts coming down. They're getting ready to plan their weekend. Now, so we move into Thursday. The success rate drops just a little bit, but it's very close to what Wednesday is, and your odds of having a qualified conversation with a customer are best on those 2 days, Wednesdays and Thursdays. Worst days, obviously, Monday, Tuesday, Friday. Friday, their weekend's already set. They don't want to talk to you anymore about coming to the dealership or seeing homes or refrigerators or whatever you're selling. They're done at that point. Friday's already set. You had to get to them a little bit earlier in the week. You want to set your weekend up, you need to be making your phone calls Wednesdays and Thursdays. And while we're talking about the best time to call and the best days to call, we might as well just address one issue too. How many phone calls does it take? Success rate on the first call is about 40%. Success rate on the second call is about 60%. And now if you really want to move up, it takes 6 phone calls of calling even during those best times and those best days. At 6 phone calls, you have about a 90% chance that you've talked to the customer and had a conversation with them at that point. Persistence pays off. Being smart pays off. Understanding the best time, the best day, when and why to call, all that wraps around to make you clutch in the close. What time of day are you calling your customer? Are you seeing the same trends that we're talking about here? Are you having a better success some other time? Or maybe you're staying pretty consistent with what we're talking about. Put it down in the comments. I'd love to hear when and how you're calling your customers and what kind of success you're having. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. Hit that little bell down there so you can get the alerts and go out, close some car deals, and be more clutch in the close.